Have you ever wanted to manage your own stable of gladiators, hire fighters, forge relationships, and climb the ranks, all while uncovering a dark conspiracy in a vast fantasy setting? Or craft custom characters and epic campaigns with a full game engine and assets at your disposal? Together in Battle fuses all of this with classic turn-based tactics and a modern twist to deliver a retro-feeling sandbox where your strategy and stories can come to life. Together in Battle has released into its full 1.0 version, and in this video I'll break it down to help you decide if it is indeed a game for you. For transparency, I did receive a key for this during early access, and I've been playing it for a little while. At its core, Together in Battle is a gladiator team management sim, but it gets much deeper than that. The Kingdom of Desi has begun its traditional gladiator tournament, and you've arrived to stake your claim. Or at least, that's what it looks like on the surface. In reality, you're being hunted by an imperial magistrate and have been ordered to the island on behalf of the rebels to help find and train experienced fighters, something the tournament is sure to attract plenty of. This kicks off the main gameplay loop. Each day you'll decide which activities your fighters will partake in, with a limited number of time units to spend. Something that starts off fairly simple, but requires much more strategic planning as you progress. See, those gladiators don't fight for free, and with paydays hitting every 2 weeks, you not only need to find ways to cover food and salaries, but also upgrade your gear and train up your stats, while the whole time you're qualifying and climbing the ranks in the arena, adding in the risk of losing fighters to injuries, or worse. To make some quick cash, members of your team can be sent out on side jobs doing general labor or services like guard duty, but the higher paying jobs often come with the high risk of combat, coming back to that chance of losing fighters you've already invested heavily in. I think my favorite side hustle is probably the built-in minigame, a card battler called Clash, where you use your deck to summon minions and attack the other player. I just thought this was a nice change of pace, and you can find tournaments to enter for cash, with the only risk being the loss of your initial entry fee. When nighttime rolls around, you have another set of options for activities to do at camp. Will you push your team to spar and practice for more XP at a loss of morale? Or maybe use some extra food to put together a feast and build camaraderie? Camp is where your characters will interact with each other and grow their bonds, or weaken them, as every character has a hidden personality that only comes out as they talk and interact with the others. But I'll get into more detail about the characters and customization options later. If this day-to-day style management sounds boring or repetitive to you, don't worry. Random events will begin to happen pretty frequently, alongside the story and planned events in the kingdom, like the Festival of Ascendant Lights. These can be anything from a rival team owner looking to strike a deal, a shady businessman asking you for a questionable favor, or an angry mob descending on civilians with you having the option to intervene. And I mean that, it really is up to you. One of the best things about these events is that you're not forced to deal with them all the time, and many of them have multiple ways to be handled. This goes for the overall story as well. There's multiple endings and decisions to be made, so each playthrough will be different. I will say that there are some rewards to be gained a lot of the time for helping, but there's also always a chance you wind up in a combat situation. Between closely scheduled league fights in the arena that you can't miss, random and story events, and managing the health of your roster, time flies by. And before you know it, it's payday and you're rolling into next month hoping that it all works out as you head into the arena. Combat drops you into classic turn-based tactics battles on a square grid, where every decision matters. Your gladiators aren't just foot soldiers, they all have powerful skills that cost energy to use, and with a wide variety of classes and specializations, which I'll get to next, you can really tailor a squad to your strategy or preferred playstyle. But what really makes the combat stand out is that the battlefield itself is a weapon in your arsenal. Elevation and terrain can be used to gain advantages, push enemies into water, and they'll not only take damage but waste a turn swimming back. High ground is a double-edged sword, giving damage and defense bonuses, but also fall damage if knocked off. And if you're the creative type, or maybe just want to take a shortcut, cryomancers can freeze water tiles to create a new pathway, while engineers can build cover or bridges to reshape the arena entirely. On top of that, fighters can be knocked into terrain or each other for collision damage, with your allies performing a devastating counterattack if you throw an enemy into them. Dynamic arena conditions provide yet another layer of strategy, with procedurally generated layouts and terrain, weather and special effects like rain, darkness, and fog of war, plus loot chests that are scattered around, promising a little bit extra if you can break them before the fight ends. Add in backstabs and side attacks for extra damage, and position positioning is absolutely crucial in Together in Battle. After all, your enemies can use each and every one of these tricks against you as well. Even on the lower difficulties, combat is challenging and requires careful planning. Gladiators who fall in battle risk permanent death, and with league fights often close together, a big roster wipe can completely derail you. Managing backups and keeping your squad in fighting condition is just as important as the turn-by-turn tactical decisions you make. With that being said, let's talk about the recruitment and character options. Every trip to the recruiter presents a new lineup of procedurally generated characters, and the possibilities are nearly endless. With 6 playable species, over 70 class combinations, and 175 skills, you've got a lot of options. However, you're never really locked into a choice either. You can rename anyone, change their class, and fully tailor your party to suit your style. And if you want even more control, the character creator lets you build your own fighters from scratch, choosing their personality traits, portraits, species, and class. These custom characters are added seamlessly into the world to fight and build relationships right alongside the others. But it doesn't stop there. A full-featured map editor gives you complete freedom to design your own maps and layouts, terrain, hazards, and all. Then you can take those maps and custom characters and drop them into entirely original campaigns with your own branching dialogue, cutscenes, and encounters using the same tools the developer did. Steam Workshop is also supported with a walkthrough campaign from the developer and a separate story called Fate of the Wayward already available. All the assets from the base game are at your disposal, making this feel less like just a tactics game and more like a sandbox experience. For players who love tinkering, creating, and storytelling through systems, Together in Battle offers a rare level of freedom and depth, shown in both the combat and the creative possibilities. There is actually a prequel of sorts to Together in Battle called Telepath Tactics Liberated, which takes place in the same world. If this one is interesting, you might want to check out my video breaking that one down as well by clicking through to it on screen now.